to, yeah, before we had the bands, before Descendents, before Black Flag, that stuff. So there was fishing, of all things, to have brought would-be future punkers together.
My history with Bill goes all the way back to the Hermosa Tackle Box, which was a business that my father owned on Pier Avenue down in Hermosa Beach. My recollection is him working for my dad when he was about 14 or 15 and asking me, Keith, what music should I be listening to? Billy just struck me as that goofy kid that maybe needed some guidance. Maybe he needed somebody to point him in the right direction. I guess I was giving him a list of things to do to lead to freakdom or whatever. Little did we know that Billy was gonna grow up to be the drummer of not only the Descendents and all, but Black Flag in between. See, we grew up where all of the music around us was top 40.
Frank got me into more like punk rock proper. Ramones, Dickies, the Sex Pistols.
Those guys, they were like twins. The double whammy ultra mega duo, Nevada Stevenson.
Yeah, it was not that long afterward where it was trash day and I was bringing my trash cans out to the curb, and one or two houses down, somebody had stuffed this bass guitar. It was sticking out of their trash can, and so at that point, I had only played drums, and I was like, whoa. And I went and I got that bass, and I wrote, mileage on that. It was just, I thought, well, Frank can write songs, so fuck it, I can write songs.
Soon after that,
people have kind of idealized that whole period in the early 80s, and that probably explains a lot of it, Bill's my best friend, and, it just bums me when these things that he did that I just thought were just amazing and world-changing or whatever didn't explode into the stratosphere and make his band as big as it should have been.
Believe me, it's hard to be in a really big band and then start another band. It's a weird position to be in. You do it for the love of playing music. You don't do it because you want to be better than the last band you were in. You just want to keep playing. So for a band like All, it was just never going to be easy.
But so what? I mean, who cares? I mean, if 50 people like your band, then 50 people like your band. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not shameful. Where is it said that, every band has to be huge like Michael Jackson? Where was that written? When you quest All, you're questing something much grander and greater than getting up and going to work at Winchell's.
I got a call from the ER doc that there was a guy downstairs who was in pretty bad shape, who had a pretty large pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot that basically traveled up to the lungs and got stuck in his lungs. This was a clot probably about, I don't know, maybe 1.5 feet long or so. It was enormous. I actually recall at the time showing someone the CT scan, hey, you want to see, look at this, on the screen, and they were like, oh, did you get the autopsy? And I was like, he's alive. When it became apparent that he was going to probably live through this thing, and I started talking to him, just said, you said you were in the music industry, so, what'd you do? And I said, well, I was in a band, I played the drums. Some people would call it punk rock, at which point I'm very interested. So anybody I would have heard of? And he said, there was Black Flag and the Descendents and All. I was like, you're hallucinating. And I looked down at the chart, and it's like, John W. Stevenson. So you're Bill Stevenson? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I know who you are. Because he's looking at me as some dorky doctor, and not somebody who, back in the 80s was a huge Descendants fan or anything like that.
I went out there and visited him, and he was better, but he was still kind of out of it a little bit.
It became pretty apparent when he came back to see me that everything was not okay, and that was when he had the MRI done of his head that revealed that he had a meningioma, which is a benign tumor about the size of a tennis ball, basically right in the middle of his head right here, more or less compressing both of his frontal lobes. The cure for the tumor is surgery. You can't do surgery on somebody when they're on blood thinners. And when somebody has an enormous blood clot in their lungs, you have to wait. I think it was at about 5 months, and I said, well, I don't know if we're gonna get him any better, you know. Boom, he was in the operating room, I think in like 3 days. There was no guarantee whatsoever that taking this tumor out was gonna bring back his personality. He might get worse, or he might make no recovery.
For us, you know, he's this unsinkable person.
I couldn't imagine not having Bill around.
It's fucked up.
So they went in and put me under, and they sawed my head open, and they removed a 6.5 centimeter meningioma out of my skull and bolted my head back together with titanium plates. And here I am.